Hello, Jared.
Hi, Alicia. Welcome back to Vibrations and Manifestations. This is Deep Dive 114, Choosing Your Timeline.
Yeah, moving from reactive change to intentional direction, which is such a massive shift.
It really is.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, we're basically talking about the exact moment you stop merely reacting to your life
yeah,
and realize you actually have the capacity to direct it.
right.
So to kick this off, imagine you're sitting in this tiny little raft, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you are navigating a stretch of incredibly intense whitewater rapids.
Oh, the worst kind of chaos.
Total chaos. The water is just roaring, the raft is pitching violently all over the place, and your entire existence is narrowed down to this one single imperative, which is just survival.
You're definitely not admiring the scenery.
No, not at all. You are paddling furiously, not to reach some, specific 5-year goal destination, but literally just to avoid smashing into the jagged rocks right in front of your face.
And biologically, in that state, you are entirely reactive. I mean, there's zero cognitive space to plan for tomorrow, let alone next year. You are just completely trapped in an immediate threat response.
Exactly. But then suddenly you round a bend in the river. And the
Yeah.
river just drastically widens. The water goes completely, almost terrifyingly calm.
Right, the roaring stops.
The roaring stops. You are totally safe. But, and here is the profound psychological shift that catches almost everyone off guard, suddenly all those frantic, highly tuned survival instincts aren't useful anymore.
Yeah, you're no longer reacting to the rapids.
You actually have to look out at this vast, quiet water and decide where to steer. And that is exactly what we are unpacking today.
It's such a massive transition because people often assume that escaping a really prolonged period of stress or crisis is going to feel euphoric.
Like you'll just be instantly happy.
Right. But in reality, it frequently leaves people feeling unexpectedly lost or even kind of apathetic. Because when the crisis is over, your nervous system doesn't automatically know what to do with the calm. The absence of a threat is really not the same thing as the presence of a direction.
That is so true. Which brings us to the whole concept of a timeline.
Yeah.
And I want to clarify, when we use that word today, we aren't talking about science fiction or multiverses.
No mystical portals here.
Right, no portals. We are talking about the intensely practical, real-world trajectory of your life. It's the biological and behavioral path that is shaped by your daily habits, your neuroplasticity, and where you put your attention.
And our mission for this deep dive is to basically act as an interactive workshop. We really want to help you step out of that reactive state and into intentional direction.
Just using small daily actions,
Yeah.
not overwhelming life overhauls.
Exactly. And to understand how large-scale reality is actually built, it helps to look at a huge historical example, like the U.S. Apollo program in the 60s.
Oh, I love this example.
Right. The decision to put a human on the moon is just the perfect illustration because it completely dismantles this myth of random momentum.
What do you mean by random momentum?
Well, the moon landing didn't happen because a bunch of decentralized scientists just went to their labs every day, tinkered around with different metals, and crossed their fingers, hoping their collective efforts would magically result in a giant leap for mankind.
Right, it wasn't just a bunch of people doing their own thing and hoping it worked out.
Exactly.
Oh.
It required thousands of engineers making literally millions of micro decisions. I mean, funding allocations, the design of a single metallurgical valve, the psychological protocols for astronaut training.
Every single one of those seemingly isolated choices was rigorously aligned toward one highly specific, declared trajectory.
Yeah, the timeline to the moon wasn't an accident. It was chosen, and then it was ruthlessly reinforced.
Okay, but let's unpack this for a second. Landing on the moon was a massive, highly funded project with thousands of people.
True.
If I'm just a single, exhausted person listening to this, how does someone apply that level of alignment without just completely burning out?
That is the million-dollar question, because translating that massive logistical achievement to our personal biology, it reveals a fascinating parallel.
Okay, tell me more.
So if you look at foundational trauma recovery work, like the concepts laid out by Bessel van der Kolk or Peter A. Levine, there is a very clear mechanism. When your nervous system finally shifts out of that sympathetic fight-or-flight state,
The whitewater rapids?
right, the rapids, when you settle into the parasympathetic rest and digest state, a profound physical change happens. Your amygdala stops hijacking your prefrontal cortex.
Right. You can actually think clearly again.
Yes. That constant buzzing physiological urgency to fix everything immediately just drops. Because you physically stop bracing for impact, you actually regain the cognitive resources you need to start aiming.
I have to challenge that a bit, though, because, I mean, think about my own life recently. Last month, I was so incredibly burnt out from everything going on.
Hmm.
And when I finally had a quiet weekend, when I was finally in calm water, I didn't sit down and beautifully direct my life. I just laid on the couch and doom scrolled the news for like 3 hours every morning.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. And we often frame that as just a modern technological distraction. But biologically, isn't that just our evolutionary survival wiring kicking in?
It absolutely is.
We're primates conditioned over millions of years to constantly scan the horizon for predators. Asking an exhausted person to just put down their phone, stop scanning for threats, and sit in silence to direct their life. It feels like fighting millions of years of evolutionary programming.
You're hitting on the exact evolutionary mismatch that makes this so difficult. The brain is absolutely wired with a negativity bias.
Because missing a threat meant death.
Exactly. Missing a threat meant death, whereas missing an opportunity just meant you missed a meal. So when you try to apply like an Apollo-level intensity to overhauling your personal life,
Just using sheer willpower.
right, fighting your biology with willpower, you will inevitably crash and burn. That is why the shift from reaction to direction has to be what we call the quiet shift.
A shift in where we allocate our attention rather than some massive, exhausting overhaul of our actions.
Precisely. You don't overhaul your life in a day. You observe that evolutionary urge to consume the news, to scan for predators, and you recognize it for what it is.
It's just maintaining noise.
Yes. You're allowing external forces to dictate your internal weather. So the quiet shift is just this tiny micro adjustment. It's realizing, wait, what neural pathway am I actually reinforcing with my attention right now?
Oh, wow. So if I'm reinforcing panic by doom scrolling, I just make a tiny pivot.
Exactly. Instead of consuming external chaos first thing in the morning, you maybe choose to create something or just regulate your breathing. It's not about doing more. It's about intentionally aiming your focus.
Okay, so intention is a choice. But, I mean, the phrase just change your mindset usually feels incredibly hollow to me.
Oh, it's the worst. It's so dismissive.
Right, so how does a micro adjustment in attention actually alter our material reality over time? Because you were always on a timeline. The only question is if you're choosing it or defaulting to it.
To understand the mechanism of how a timeline is actually built, we have to look at neuroplasticity and systems thinking.
Like Norman Doidge's work.
Exactly. His work fundamentally changed how we understand the brain. We used to think the adult brain was just concrete, fixed, unyielding.
But it's highly malleable.
Very. Repeated thoughts and actions physically, structurally reshape the neural pathways in your brain.
Here is where it gets really interesting to me. It's kind of like a river carving a canyon, right?
Well, yes and no.
Wait, really? Why not?
It's less like a passive river and more like hacking a path through a dense jungle with a machete.
Oh, I like that better. It implies effort.
Right. The first time you walk through, it is exhausting. It's slow. You get scratched up by thorns. That is your brain trying a new intentional behavior.
But if you walk that exact same path every single day,
You trample the underbrush. Eventually, it becomes a dirt trail, then a paved road, and finally, an effortless superhighway.
that is such a good representation of the biological energy cost. And it ties right into Daniel Kahneman's System 1 and System 2 thinking.
It absolutely does.
Your brain consumes roughly 20% of your body's total energy, which is a massive metabolic expense. So to save energy, it relies heavily on System 1, which is your automatic default programming,
Walking down the paved superhighway costs very little energy.
which is why we default to our old reactive habits. They are literally cheaper, calorically speaking, for the brain to execute.
Exactly. Now, System 2 is your intentional, effortful thinking. Hacking the new path requires System 2, and it is biologically exhausting.
It really is.
But when you consciously use System 2 to focus your attention, you engage this incredible network in the brainstem called the reticular activating system, the RAS.
People always describe the RAS with that cliche of, like, deciding to buy a blue car, and then suddenly you see blue cars everywhere on the highway.
Right, the blue car syndrome.
But let's look at the actual mechanism, because it's fascinating. Think of the RAS as this incredibly ruthless, algorithmic bouncer at an exclusive nightclub.
A bouncer. I love that.
Because your brain is bombarded by billions of bits of sensory data every second. If it tried to process all of it consciously, your nervous system would just completely fry.
You'd short circuit.
Exactly. So the bouncer stands at the door of your conscious awareness, and he only lets in information that matches the VIP list you handed him that morning.
And that VIP list is written by your repeated focus.
Yeah.
If you continuously focus on anxiety, scarcity, and threat, you are handing the bouncer a list of problems. The RIS will efficiently filter your reality to ensure you notice every single micro-expression of rejection, every piece of bad economic news, and every potential danger.
It literally filters out the opportunities because they aren't on the list.
But if you do the metabolically expensive work of using System 2 to focus on calm, stability, and direction, your RAS starts letting entirely different data through the door.
And this is where Donella Meadows' systems thinking proves the whole concept. Systems run on feedback loops. What you engage with repeatedly becomes self-reinforcing.
Right. If you reinforce distraction by grabbing your phone the second you wake up, you get more distraction.
But if you reinforce clarity, you get more clarity. You don't just quantum leap to a new timeline. You engineer it one daily drop of water at a time.
So since the science clearly shows our daily drops of water carve the canyon or hack the jungle path, how do we actually make sure our drops are falling in the right place?
We need a filter for our daily decisions. Let's do this. Let's turn this into an interactive workshop for a minute.
Yes, let's pause.
I want to invite you, listening to this right now, to just pause. Think of something real, a tangible friction point you are navigating in your life this week.
Right, don't pick a vague goal like being happier.
No, pick a specific habit that leaves you feeling drained. Or maybe a work decision you are actively avoiding. Or a daily routine that consistently spikes your cortisol.
Got one. Just hold that specific friction point in your mind.
To interrupt that automatic, energy-saving System 1 behavior, we are going to gently walk you through what we call the 3 alignment check.
It's designed to just bypass all that overwhelming noise and give you immediate directional clarity.
Okay, question 1. Look at that habit or decision and ask yourself, does this align with who I am becoming?
Notice the phrasing there, not who you used to be.
Exactly. Not the survival mode version of yourself from the rapids,
Yeah.
and definitely not who society expects you to be. Does this action align with the grounded person you're actively growing into?
That framing immediately cuts through so much cognitive dissonance. Like if you are actively becoming someone who values professional stability, does getting into a heated, petty argument in a Slack channel at 4 p.m. align with that?
Biologically, it might give you a quick dopamine hit, but directionally, it's a complete mismatch.
Completely. Okay, question 2. Does this move me toward or away from my desired direction?
And keep the threshold incredibly low here. We're not asking if this is the ultimate, perfect, optimized master plan step.
No, it's just a vector check. Is it pointing generally forward or is it a detour? It removes all that perfectionism paralysis.
So true. And finally, question 3. Does this support my stability? Or does it create unnecessary chaos?
That is arguably the most vital filter, because your trauma wiring will often try to trick you.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes a new opportunity or a massive project looks incredibly shiny on the surface. But if you check your nervous system, you might realize it carries the exact same chaotic frequency as the rapids you just escaped.
Because your biology craves the familiar, even if the familiar is totally miserable.
It really does.
So what does this all mean for your actual week? It means you take the answers to those 3 questions and you pick just one small action.
You're not a 5-step plan.
Just one thing. Close a graining browser tab, choose to rest, put your phone in another room at 8 p.m. so you don't have to use willpower. Just one tangible action that paves a few more inches of that new neural pathway.
But you know, we really have to address the elephant in the room here.
Oh, the resistance.
Yeah, if the 3-step check is so simple and the science is so clear, what is the invisible force that pulls us right back into those old reactive patterns?
Why is it so agonizingly difficult to just do the one simple thing?
Right, it's the static. We call it being trapped in manifestation, debug mode.
Debug mode. I love that term.
It identifies this ultimate limiting belief. And the belief sounds so responsible, which is why it's so dangerous. It goes like this. I need to figure out my entire future before I act.
Oh my gosh, yes. It hides under the guise of being productive or risk management. I'm just planning.
I'm just doing my research. But look at the psychology of certainty. Why does the brain demand a master plan? Because the brain processes uncertainty in the anterior cingulate cortex.
Wait, really?
Yes, which is the exact same region of the brain that registers physical pain.
That is staggering. So to your biology, a lack of a plan doesn't just feel confusing. It feels like a literal physical threat to your survival.
Precisely. When you demand a master plan before you act, you are biologically trying to downregulate your own threat response. You think, if I can just map out the next 5 years of my finances, I'll finally feel safe enough to start?
But the map is a total illusion. The demand for certainty just creates immense physical tension. It tightens your chest, spikes your cortisol, and completely freezes you in place.
You end up doing nothing because knowing everything is
You
impossible.
just get paralyzed by the variables. I can't start a side business because I don't know the tax implications for year 3.
Right.
So the antidote, and I share this enthusiastically because it changed my life, is a radical downregulation of the threat. You have to consciously tell your nervous system, I don't need the full map. I only need the next aligned step.
What's fascinating here is the physical release that follows that shift. Releasing the need for perfect clarity isn't just a motivational quote. It's a biological mechanism for moving out of the freeze response.
Yeah, as long as you demand absolute certainty, you're trapped in the pressure of the rapids.
But the second you accept that your only responsibility is the single step right in front of you, action becomes available again. You shift from pressure into fluid movement.
Exactly. So now that the pressure of the master plan is removed, it is time to actually step onto the path. Let's do a quick sensory visualization together.
Yeah, let's anchor this.
If you are in a place where you can safely do so, like,
Yeah.
don't do this if you're driving, just let your eyes soften or close. Allow your physical posture to soften. We're going to shift out of beta waves.
Bring your attention to the mechanical act of breathing. Take a slow, deliberate breath in through your nose, tracking the air as it expands your ribs.
And exhale with a soft sigh. Let your breath find a slow, autonomous rhythm.
Notice the gravity pulling down on your body. You are physically supported by the earth.
Allow a wave of deliberate relaxation to cascade down your body. Unclench the muscles around your eyes. Let your jaw drop slightly.
Release the tension in your shoulders, letting them fall away from your ears. Soften your belly. Imagine yourself standing in a vast, wide-open landscape. The ground beneath you is completely solid.
The chaotic, roaring water of the rapids is miles and miles behind you. There is no urgency here, just space.
From this calm, regulated state, as you look out across this landscape, you see multiple paths gently unfolding in front of you.
And none of them are flashing with neon signs. None of them are screaming for your attention. They're simply available options.
You don't need to analyze the paths to their ultimate endpoints. You just sense which direction feels aligned with the person you are becoming.
You do not need to calculate where they lead in 10 miles. You only need to look at the first few feet.
Sense which path naturally draws your attention.
Not the path you feel you should take. Not the path that promises the most immediate adrenaline. Which path resonates with the feeling of quiet, stable expansion? Feel the solid earth under your boots. You shift your weight, you take one steady, deliberate step forward.
Feel the solid ground beneath your foot. Take another step.
Your shoulders remain dropped. Your breathing remains deep. You are moving forward, but you are completely at ease.
Bring your awareness back to the center of your chest. This calm, deliberate movement is what it physically feels like to occupy a timeline of your own choosing.
Take one more deep, stabilizing breath in, and as you exhale, slowly let the imagery dissolve.
And this brings us to the core anchor line of this entire deep dive. If you remember nothing else, remember this.
You don't find your timeline, you reinforce it.
You don't find your timeline, you reinforce it. That distinction changes absolutely everything.
It really does. The idea of finding your path implies it's hidden out there somewhere, and if you make one wrong turn, you've ruined your destiny forever.
Which is a recipe for chronic anxiety. Reinforcing your timeline means it is constructed by you, literally built into the architecture of your brain, day by day, choice by choice.
So as you navigate your real-world outcomes this week, whether that's money or seeking more ease or just an intelligent living, picture just one area of your life to gently direct your attention toward.
Just one.
And when you inevitably drift, because the brain loves its cheap, old superhighways, we all drift, do not panic. The power is not in perfection. The power is in returning to the choice.
Every time you steer your attention back, you are telling your bouncer, your RAS, this is the new VIP list. You're swinging the machete one more time. You're hacking the new path.
Yes. So to synthesize all of this, moving from reaction to direction isn't a mystical leap. It's the quiet, steady alignment of our habits, our attention, and our biology.
It's an elegant mechanism when you really understand the parts.
We've established that the architecture of your life is built entirely from the compounding interest of microscopic choices. So I want you to consider this. What if the most mundane, seemingly insignificant action you take tomorrow morning, like what you allow your eyes to focus on in the absolute first 5 minutes of waking up, is not just a habit, but the exact pivot point where your entire timeline shifts?
But, connecting this to the bigger picture raises a really provocative thought for our next arc.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. The ease paradox.
The ease paradox. We often think that finding the right timeline will make everything perfectly easy. We equate alignment with a total absence of friction.
But the paradox is, why does chasing a life of total ease almost always generate massive amounts of stress and boredom?
Exactly. What actually creates a life that feels genuinely better?
That is such a profound friction point to end on. So as you go through your day, ponder that paradox. But mostly, remember the river. The survival mode is behind you. You don't need the map for the entire ocean. You just need to choose your next stroke and reinforce the path.
Steer well, everyone.
We'll see you next time on Vibrations and Manifestations.